Hi everyone, good day. In this video, I'll show you how to submit your expense reimbursement requests using the Just Login website. Before we proceed with the demo, let me first share the steps you need to follow when submitting an expense claim. Step 1 is to create the expense claim. Here, you'll need to provide details such as the expense category, the amount, the transaction date, a description, and any supporting documents you want to upload for review. Step 2 is to create an expense report and add the claim to it. In this step, you'll set the business purpose and the date coverage of the report. Once the report is ready, you need to add the expense claim you created in Step 1. Step 3 is to submit the expense report. This final step officially submits your claim. Once submitted, the approving officer will receive a notification that a claim is awaiting their review. These are the steps you need to remember and follow when submitting an expense claim. The process is the same whether you are using the website or the mobile app. Alright, let's move on to the demo on how to submit an expense claim using the website. First, log into your account by entering your company ID, user ID, and password. Once you're logged in, go to the left panel of your screen and click on the expense module. Here, you'll see two menus, Dashboard and Claims. The dashboard gives you an overview of your recent claim submissions. You'll also see the Quick Links section, where you can easily go to Expenses page and Reports page. You will also find the Expense Summary section, which shows the unsubmitted amount, pending approval amount, and awaiting reimbursement amount. Below that, you can view your most recent expense reports. These show details like the report number, report name, claim status, submission date, and the amount. But for this video, let's focus on how to submit a claim on the website. To start, click on the Claims menu. On this page, you will see two tabs, Expenses and Reports. On the Expenses tab, you will see different sub-tabs. By default, everyone has access to the single claim and bulk claim options, which are used to submit regular expense claims. You may also see a Transport Claim sub-tab, but this will only appear if it has been enabled in the system by your administrator. The Transport Claim is designed to separate transportation expenses from your regular claims. Now, let's look at the difference between single claim and bulk claim. Single claim is used when you're submitting an expense under just one category. Bulk claim is used when you have multiple expense categories and want to submit them all at once. There is also a History sub-tab where you can review all your past claims. Step 1. Creating an expense claim. For this example, we'll go through the process of submitting a single claim. The first section you'll see is where you can upload your receipt as proof of the expense. Accepted file formats include images, documents, Excel files, and PDFs. Simply drag and drop or upload the file here. Note that attachment requirements may vary depending on the category. Some categories do not require attachments, while others may require them mandatorily. This setup depends on your company's configuration. Once you've uploaded the receipt or supporting document, the next section is the Add to Report field. This is related to Step 2, which we'll discuss in detail later. Next, we have the Date field, where you'll enter the actual transaction date, the date when the expense occurred. Then comes the Category field. Clicking the drop-down will show you all the available categories in the system. This field is required. You cannot submit a claim without selecting a category. After that, you'll see the Reference Number field, where you can enter the receipt number, transaction number, or any other identifying number from the receipts. Next is the Project field, which will only appear if it has been enabled in the system. This allows you to tag the expense to a specific project for reporting purposes. If this feature is not enabled in your company setup, you can skip this field. On the right-hand side, you'll find the Amount field, where you indicate the total expense amount. Next to it is the Exchange Rate field, followed by the Tax field. The tax option shown here will depend on your company's configuration and whether the expense is taxable. Below that is the merchant field, where you specify where the expense was incurred. For example, if it was a food expense, you can put the restaurant's name. For transportation, you may indicate the gasoline station or the transportation service provider where the payment was made. The next field is location, where you indicate the place where the expense was made. This can be a specific city or a detailed location. Then comes the description field. Here, you can explain the purpose of the expense or provide any details you'd like the approvers or admins to know. After completing the details, you'll see the assigned approving officer at the bottom. The system will also show how many levels of approval are required. In this example, I only have one approver assigned, and their name and photo appear here. Finally, on the other side of the screen, you'll see two buttons, the Save and Submit. I'll explain the difference between these two shortly, but let's finish our example first. Now let's go through an example of creating a claim. I'll start by uploading the receipt in the attachment section. Next, I'll select the date of the transaction. Then, I need to choose the category from the drop-down list. For this example, I'll select Meals and Entertainment. In the reference number field, I'll enter REF123. For the amount, I'll enter 500 and then choose the appropriate tax option. Under Merchant, I'll enter McDonald's, and for the location, I'll select Singapore. In the description field, I'll add meal for the monthly lunch meeting. At the bottom of the page, you'll see two buttons, Save and Submit. If you click Save and Submit, the claim will be immediately routed to your approving officer for approval. If you click Save, the claim will be created but not yet submitted. This means it will remain as a draft for your records. When you're ready to submit it for approval, you'll need to proceed with steps 2 and 3 separately. For this example, I'll go ahead and use Save and Submit. Please note that if your company policy allows you to submit claims immediately for approval, it's more efficient to use the Save and Submit button. However, if your company requires you to consolidate expenses and submit them once a month, the best approach is to create and save each expense first. At the end of the month, you can then submit all of them in one go. This way, your approving officer only needs to review and approve a single transaction that covers all the expenses for that period. Ultimately, the method you use, whether Save and Submit or Save, will depend on your company's policy. When you click on the Save and Submit button, a new window will appear on your screen. This is where you'll complete the fields needed for Step 2, which is to create a report, and Step 3 to submit. First, you need to provide a report name, which should describe what the expenses are for. Next is the period coverage. This defines the time frame for which the report will be used. If you select just one day, like in our example, then the report is only valid for that specific date. Any expenses you need to submit tomorrow will require a new report. If you choose a broader range, like the entire month, the system will allow you to reuse the same report for all claims submitted within that period. You will also need to enter the business purpose, a short explanation of what the expense was for and why it was incurred. Once all fields are filled out, click the Save button. The system will process your submission and display a confirmation message at the top right corner of the screen saying, "Report updated successfully." At this point, the screen will automatically update to show that the status of your claim is now submitted. You can also go to the History subtab under the Expenses tab, where you can review your submitted claims. That completes the process when using the Save and Submit option. Next, let's walk through another example so you can see how the flow works if you're using the Save method instead. I'll start by uploading an attachment. Then select the date of the expense and choose the category from the drop-down. This time, I'll choose fuel or mileage expenses as the category. As I mentioned earlier, whether an attachment is required depends on your company's settings. In this case, since fuel or mileage expenses has been set up to require an attachment, if I try to remove the file, you'll notice a red message appears saying, "Attachment is required." This means I must upload a file or picture before I can proceed with submitting the claim. So, I'll go ahead and attach a file here. For the reference number, I'll enter 2772468 as the booking code. For the project field, I won't select anything. In the amount field, I'll enter 75. For the merchant, I'll enter Grab. For location, I'll add 𝐔𝐬𝐞𝐫 Airport, and for the description, I'll enter business trip. This time, I'll click the blue Save button. Here you have two options, Save button and Save and Next button. Both will just save the expense claim, and you still need to go to the reports page to proceed. The status of the claim will then show in the History tab as unreported. On the reports page, you need to create a report, since every expense claim must be tied to a report before it can be submitted. To do this, click the green Add Report button. A window will appear where you need to enter the report name, select the period duration, and provide the business purpose. Once completed, click the green Save button. You'll then see a confirmation message at the top right corner of the screen saying, "Report created successfully." On this page, you'll notice there are now two claims submitted for today. The first one is already submitted. This was our earlier example using the Save and Submit method. The second one shows a status of unsubmitted. This is the claim we just saved using the Save method. To open the unsubmitted claim, click the eye icon under the Actions column. This will take you to the View Report page, where you'll see all the details. Notice the status still says unsubmitted, and the reimbursable amount is 0. This is because you need to add the expenses into this report before submitting. To do this, click the blue Add Expenses button. You'll be given two options, Include Expense or Add a New Expense. Since we already created the expense earlier in Step 1, we'll choose Include Expense. Here, you'll see a list of all your unreported expenses. Select the checkbox beside the date of the expense you want to include, then click Save. You'll get a confirmation message saying Expense added successfully. Now the expense appears under the report. To complete the process, click the blue Submit button. You'll receive another confirmation saying Report submitted successfully. If you go back to the report list, you'll see that the status has now changed to Submitted. Once a claim is submitted, the approving officer is automatically notified and will also receive an email informing them that a new claim is pending their approval. At this point, it's now the responsibility of the approving officer to take the next action. Lastly, if you want to review all your claims in the system, you can go to your expense dashboard. Here you'll see that the expense summary section has been updated, showing the additional amounts now under pending approval, as well as the recent expense reports you've submitted. That completes the process of creating and submitting expense claims using the website. Thank you so much for watching.